Every large company, maybe even yours, puts millions into innovation. It's always there, in the mission statement, and they talk about it constantly.
Right. It's a big buzzword.
Exactly. They pour resources in. But here's the puzzle, the sort of corporate physics problem. Why does real game-changing innovation just seem to grind to a halt once a company gets big?
Yeah, it's that classic organizational drag. And that drag, well, that's what we're diving into today.
Okay.
The real issue, as our sources really highlight, is that innovation too often ends up being someone's part-time job. And that's basically the kiss of death for it.
The part-time problem. So our mission today is to unpack how Amazon, when they were facing what really looked like total organizational gridlock back in the early 2000s, came up with a pretty radical fix. I mean, they had the money, they definitely had the talent, the ambition was there, but they were, and I think this is their own phrase, suffocating under their own success.
It's a great phrase. And to really get the solution, we need to feel the pain of the problem they had first. Amazon was, brilliant at scaling things.
Yeah.
They organized by function, engineering here, design there, product management over there. Super efficient on paper, right?
It looks logical.
But it creates this specific kind of friction when you want to build something new.
Ah, okay. And is that friction basically just things move too slow? Like, if I'm a product lead with a great idea needing, say, 10 hours of engineering time, do I have to go, like, hat in hand to the VP of engineering,
Yeah.
whose plate is already full? Is that it?
That's exactly it. You nailed it. You have to pull resources across these silos.
Right.
You need engineers from this budget, design time from that budget, a bit of product management focus from, yet another group. You pitch your idea.
And then you wait.
And then you wait. Weeks, maybe months. Just hoping your thing doesn't get bumped down the list by some bigger existing project. It's endless meetings, endless negotiation.
And the result is, well, nothing happens. Or not much. And Jeff Bezos apparently had this perfect, almost toxic diagnosis for it.
Yeah.
Learned helplessness.
It's such a powerful term, isn't it? Because it gets right at the psychology of being a leader in a big company.
How so?
Well, the people who were supposed to be building the future, they ended up just becoming really good at scheduling meetings and writing follow-up emails. Because they learned, fundamentally, that they couldn't actually control the inputs, the people, the resources they needed to, build something new. So eventually, they just stopped trying so hard.
They learned to be helpless. The system taught them not to bother.
Exactly. The effort felt futile.
Okay, and this is usually the point where big companies just shrug, right? They say, well, that's just the cost of scale.
Right. The conventional wisdom.
Yeah, this idea that scale requires process, which one source compared to the second law of organizational thermodynamics, like it's some unavoidable decay.
They just accept that slowing down is inevitable. But Amazon, crucially, refused to accept that. They figured the real root cause wasn't, lack of tech or just red tape. Those are symptoms. The real disease, the organizational malpractice, was making innovation a side project.
Right.
You just can't expect someone to truly transform a business when they're juggling 5 other massive priorities and have to beg for resources all the time. It's unreasonable.
So if the problem is that shared ownership, that diffused responsibility, the fix had to be pretty bold. And that fix, the game changer, was called single-threaded leadership, STL. Now, I love the name. Is single-threaded, like, literal? Where's that come from?
It's totally literal. Comes straight out of computer science.
Oh, okay.
In programming, right, single-threaded execution means the computer does one task, start to finish. No interruptions, no jumping between tasks, no context switching.
Maximum focus.
Maximum focus, maximum efficiency. They took that exact principle and applied it to how people work together.
Okay, so let's unpack that. The core idea of single-threaded leadership.
It's actually deceptively simple at its heart. You give one person the single-threaded leader, or STL, complete full-time ownership of one thing, and only one thing.
One leader, one mission.
One leader, one mission, 0 competing priorities. No shared responsibility, no matrix management muddling things up, and absolutely 0 diffusion of accountability. It's all on them.
And this leader, they don't just get a fancy title, do they? They get a whole structure around them. This is where the famous 2-pizza team idea fits in.
Exactly right. That's the practical side. The STL is empowered to hire their own small team. Small enough, famously, to be fed by 2 pizzas.
So like 6 to 8 people, maybe?
Usually, yeah. And that team is dedicated entirely to that one mission. They don't go begging, the central VP of engineering for help anymore.
They hire their own people?
They hire their own engineers, their own designers, product managers, whatever they need. They control their own destiny, set their own roadmap.
They basically get to skip the line, move like a startup, but with Amazon's backing.
Precisely. And this is crucial. The leader gets the authority to match that huge responsibility. They get the power to say no.
No to who?
No to distractions. No to, random executive pet projects that might pull them off course.
Yeah.
No to conflicting priorities bubbling up from the main business.
Yeah.
Their entire world is delivering on that one project.
Okay, hold on. Let me play devil's advocate for a sec. That sounds potentially chaotic. Like you're giving one person total control, the power to tell even senior execs no on their pet ideas. Doesn't that just create massive political fights, little fiefdoms?
The political friction is definitely real. It exists.
Yeah.
But it's the trade-off you make for speed. The source material basically says Amazon decided the cost of that internal friction. The occasional turf war needing an exec to step in was way lower than the cost of gridlock and missed opportunities.
Interesting calculation.
Yeah, if you wait for everyone to agree or for the matrix to align perfectly, the market's moved on. So you give the STL the authority even to navigate tricky internal politics because their mission is just too important to get watered down by consensus.
Okay, that makes sense. You're prioritizing speed over maybe perfect internal harmony. And the results, well, we see them. AWS is the giant example, right?
Absolutely the poster
Yeah.
child. Andy Jassy was the STL for that whole vision, turning Amazon's own infrastructure into something they could sell.
And he wasn't splitting his time managing Kindle Fire production or something?
No way. If he had been, AWS probably would have died a slow bureaucratic death. He woke up every day thinking only about cloud computing.
And the result, AWS is now doing what, over $90 billion a year in revenue? It's staggering.
It really is. And it wasn't because their initial tech was light years ahead of everyone else's, was it?
No, not necessarily.
It's organizational speed. They could just iterate, learn, and pivot faster than competitors who were still bogged down in those internal resource battles. And you see the same pattern with their other huge hits, right? Amazon Prime, Alexa, the Echo devices, all born from these small, focused, single-threaded teams with one owner.
This whole model seems to recognize something fundamental that big companies often forget. The scarcest resource isn't money or even talent, it's attention.
Exactly. You hit the nail on the head. You can usually find more capital. You can hire more people. But you cannot magically give someone more focused hours in their day.
And attention doesn't scale.
It absolutely does not scale. STL treats attention like the precious, finite resource it is and concentrates it. Think about that hidden tax of context switching.
Right.
If you're a leader juggling, say, 3 big projects, even if they each officially take up a third of your time, the mental energy lost, just switching between them, rereading things, getting back up to speed, it's huge. You're never fully locked in.
And keeping the team small, that two-pizza role, that amplifies the focus too, right? You mentioned coordination costs earlier.
Oh, it's scientifically vital. Small teams tackle 2 massive drags on productivity. First, like you said, coordination cost. Team of 6. 15 potential communication links between people.
Okay.
Double that team size to 12. It explodes. Suddenly you have 66 links to manage. Just keeping everyone in the loop becomes a huge overhead.
Wow, that's way more than double the links for double the people. We think doubling the team doubles the output, but maybe you're just quadrupling the meetings.
You're definitely adding way more communication debt. And the second drag is that old rope pulling thing.
What's that?
Studies going back like 100 years show that when you ask people to pull on a rope, individual effort goes down as the group gets bigger.
Huh, interesting.
One person pulls hard, add more people, each person unconsciously slacks off a bit. In companies, we call it diffusion of responsibility, or maybe just coasting.
And STL flips that. It goes from diffusion to like hyper accountability.
Exactly. This is where it gets really powerful. In a typical matrixed setup, if something fails, everyone has an excuse, right?
Oh, yeah. Product blames engineering, engineering blames design.
The circle of blame. But with an STL, there's nowhere to hide. You own it. You can't blame lack of resources. You hired your team.
Right.
You can't blame lack of authority. You were given the power to say no. Success or failure, it lands squarely on that one leader and that clarity. It changes behavior completely. You stop making excuses and start solving problems because you're the one on the hook.
And this must shift the whole culture, doesn't it? Away from like top-down control and fear of mistakes.
Towards decentralized trust and accountability.
Yes.
Yes. It accepts that mistakes will happen. You can't innovate without mistakes. But the key is learning fast.
Speed of learning.
Speed of learning beats perfection of planning. That's the mantra. A big, centrally controlled org might make fewer mistakes, maybe. But when they do, correcting them takes forever because you have to coordinate across all those silos again.
Right.
An empowered STL team, they make a mistake, they own it instantly, fix it immediately, and move on. That speed of learning just compounds over time into a massive advantage.
Okay, but we need to add some nuance here. This STL model sounds amazing, but it can't be a magic wand you wave everywhere, right? I imagine the biggest challenge is just finding these STL people.
It's incredibly hard. It's maybe the hardest part. You need a very specific kind of leader.
Not just a specialist.
Definitely not. They can't just be a great engineer or a great marketer. They have to be true generalists. Someone who can think about the P&L, hire across all the key functions, engineering, design, product, and truly own that entire customer journey end to end.
Like a mini CEO for that one initiative.
Exactly. And most corporate career paths train people to go deep in one area. Finding someone who can run the whole show. It's like hunting for unicorns.
And then if you do find these unicorns and start scaling this model, you must run into that tension between giving teams autonomy and needing some standardization, right?
Oh, absolutely. Huge tension.
Like, if every team is totally autonomous, doesn't everyone end up reinventing the wheel? You get 50 different ways to build the same login button because no one's talking.
That's the operational headache. Amazon definitely wrestled with this. They managed it, apparently, through things like centralized guilds and shared standards, especially for critical stuff like security or core infrastructure.
So guardrails, not handcuffs.
That seems to be the idea. The STL teams had to follow core protocols, but they could diverge on implementation details if it served their specific mission faster. But yeah, that tension between consistency and autonomy, it never fully goes away. You just have to decide which one wins when they conflict. Usually autonomy for speed.
And thankfully, they don't seem to apply this everywhere. Like, you wouldn't make the head of legal an STL, right?
No, exactly. Functional areas like legal, finance, big operational teams, places where efficiency and consistency are the main goals, they still need traditional structures. STL seems mostly reserved for those new strategic bets where speed and breaking new ground are everything.
And that makes sense because those STL teams measure success differently too, don't they?
Totally differently. They're not judged on proxy metrics, like how busy their engineers are, or their sprint velocity like you see in traditional IT shops. They measure hard results. Did Prime membership grow? Did AWS revenue hit the target? Did Alexa gain users? That kind of clarity is incredibly motivating for top talent. They want real ownership and real impact.
Which brings us right back to where we started, really. The power of focus. Concentration is everything.
Yeah. Breadth kills depth. Multitasking kills excellence.
And shared ownership. That kills accountability. Every single time.
The math seems counterintuitive to big company thinking, but it's clear. One person, fully focused, with their dedicated team, achieves way more than 10 people giving 10% of their brainpower.
Because those hidden taxes, coordination, context switching just eat up all the potential gain.
They destroy value exponentially.
So if you're listening to this and wondering where your own company's innovation engine might be sputtering, this deep dive really leaves us with one sharp diagnostic question to ask. It comes straight from the material.
Yeah, ask yourself this. What critical, high-potential initiative in your organization is currently someone's part-time job?
Because that's where the drag is.
That's where innovation is likely dying on the vine. And that's exactly the kind of thing that needs to be carved out, given real resources, and handed to a single-threaded owner.